This is Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque, continuing 16 years on air and online, helping you succeed in buying, selling, and investing in property. The best real estate strategies out there just for you.
Welcome to Real Estate This Week. Hi again, I'm Stephen Gasque, and on this Halloween, we're looking at the dark side of real estate. The things that can terrify you, from applying for a mortgage to competing with other buyers to borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars and paying it back for the next 30 years. Yikes! But don't be scared, because today we're talking with a real estate mythbuster who will tell us why it's okay and there's no reason to hide under the covers. Joining us now is Bill Lublin, Realtor and CEO of Century 21 Advantage Gold in Philadelphia. Bill is the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, and he also served as the president of the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. And Bill is currently on the board of directors and several committees at the National Association of Realtors. Bill, welcome to Real Estate This Week.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. It's a pleasure to hear the mellifluous tones of your voice once again.
Well, Bill, I am delighted you're here. And this is our annual Halloween show, and I wanted to begin with a very simple question. Bill, what scares you about real estate?
Oh my, that's what scares me is the possibility that there may be people that want to buy homes that are unable to. That's really scary for me.
Right. And it does happen to a lot of people across America every year. They have home ownership in their sights and they can't quite climb that hill.
Well, and in many cases, Stephen, not to be too on brand with the Halloween, it's really out of fear more than it is out of a lack of ability.
That's very true, Bill. Very true. And so let's go through the home buying process and the home ownership process and talk about those fears and why, if you really know the facts, there's nothing to be afraid of. Beginning with applying for a mortgage in which someone is judging you. Tell us about that, Bill.
I am always amazed when anybody lends me money. I have to say, and I think that's a really normal attitude. When people go into a bank, they're afraid that they are seen somehow as less than, because it's this. If it's a bank, if it's if you're going into a physical institution, we think of them as really not governmental, but we think of them as part of the cornerstones of our society. Bankers are wealthy. Bankers make choices, right? And interfacing with that for many people, even if it's the friendliest loan officer you've ever met, is daunting for people because they're not quite sure what it is that they're going to be judged on. Credit scores are just a number, right? And understanding what goes into that number for many people is confusing. So we try to explain it to them. We try to make sure that they're working with a reputable lender. The forms are long and involved, and you feel like you're being investigated in every section of your life. And it's more of an insecurity than a fear, I think, for most people.
And so, Bill, is there really any reason to be scared of that?
No. If you pay your bills on time, then of course not. If you're, and bear in mind that part of it is the emotional drive of I'm trying to buy my first home or my upgrade home. I really love this thing, and I don't want to see any roadblocks put into it. And I just don't know a lot about this process. I know they're going to pull a credit report. I don't know quite what that means. I'm not quite sure how things are reported. I'm not sure whether they're going to give me a knock on my credit because I put gum under my desk in fourth grade. Like, no, right? Nobody's really clear about it if they're not in a financial business. And then there becomes a point where it becomes really easy. You know, you've done it before, and you've been questioned, and you kind of know the answers. But that's where the realtor and the mortgage professional come in, because their job should be to make it easier for you. Right. To explain along the way why they're asking for these things, and what's my boss going to say when I, have to verify my employment. Are they going to say that I wear blue shirts on Wednesday, and is that going to be a problem? Right? Or I eat my lunch at my desk and they don't like the way I clean up. Like, every insecurity you have comes into play, and they really don't have anything to do with the process.
Absolutely. And Bill, I'll share something with you. One time I was going to apply for a mortgage, and I talked to my father, who had done a lot of real estate in his life. And I said, Dad, I've got to apply for this mortgage, and wow, I'm nervous. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, son, that's their business. Their business is to lend people money. So you walk right in there, put out your hand, and shake their hand and say, I want a mortgage.
Right, because they want you to be successful. Your father was a brilliant man.
He knew people.
As I had no doubt he would be.
Oh, Bill, let me ask you another question. And thank you for that, by the way. Another question. Borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars and paying it back month after month for 30 years. Now, that's enough to make people dive under the covers.
No, it's the truth. But for the most part, we don't make those payments for 30 years. Typically people move in 7 to 10 years. Maybe a little bit longer. It's gone up and down during the time I'm in the business. But it's more than likely that you won't pay off the mortgage until you sell the home, and that you'll sell the home prior to being in there for 30 years. And if you do make the payments for 30 years, the great thing, if you have a fixed rate mortgage, is that the mortgage payments seem to become smaller over a period of time. Because let's take an example of somebody who's 20 years old and buys their first home, and they're in the youth of their career, and the payment seems really daunting. Well, with inflation and just moderate increases in their salary over a period of years, by 5 years, the payment becomes really easy. In 10 years, it becomes really small. In 15 years, it's almost unnoticeable. At 20 years, you're trying to figure out, why did I ever worry about this? And if you actually do pay it off at the end of 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 years, you kind of feel a sense of accomplishment. But in the meantime, all you've done is make periodic housing payments, which were affordable for you at your very young age.
Interesting, Bill, and very reassuring. But staying with money for a moment. Another thing that's terrified people I've talked to is whether they can really afford the house. I mean, beside the mortgage, you've got the utilities, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance. All those can go up over time, and unexpected repairs. So, Bill, people are terrified they'll become house poor. What about that?
Well, again, if your mortgage lender and your real estate professional, who hopefully is a realtor, a member of the local, state, and national associations of realtors, have done their job, they put you in a home that was very affordable for you. Now, that doesn't mean that in the beginning it's not going to seem daunting because the payments are new, right? You've not made them in the past. But over a period of time, again, typically if you get small increases in your salary, all of these costs go down. And if any of these costs go up, it's as a result of inflation, and the value of your home has gone up as well. And if for some reason you truly became house poor, sell the house and move into a smaller place, into a smaller house, downsize.
Right. Great advice, Bill. And now, along those same lines, talking about the house and affordability, and this is especially significant in today's environment. What about the fear that you'll lose your job and therefore you'll lose the house?
Well, I that's interesting because I've since a very young age always been a realtor and have not really held a salary job in my lifetime as an adult. I think the last time I had a salary job, I was a delivery guy in college, and the salary was nothing. I was living on tips. But the truth is, if you lose your job, you're not going to stay home and sit in a closet. You're going to go get another job. And again, if you've purchased your home prudently, if for some reason you needed to move from the place, you sell the property. Like, nobody forces you to stay in a house you can't afford.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
So it becomes easy to sell because we are still in a marketplace where there is a greater demand for housing than there are houses to satisfy it.
Right. And
so, I mean, bad things can happen to good people. There's no question. But though most of those things can be resolved. The bank who lent you the money doesn't really want to foreclose on you. They'll work with you. You know, if you had two incomes when you started and you lost one, you go look for another job.
And you know, Bill, this brings to mind something you said a few minutes ago about mortgage lenders, that they really want you to succeed. They want you to get that mortgage because they want you to get a house. And what you just said about a job reminds me of something I've told young people a lot, which is when you apply for a job, don't forget, they want to hire you.
Right.
They're looking for someone, they need someone, and they hope it'll be you. So don't take an us versus them approach. Don't be scared. Get in there and get that job.
No, and the truth is everybody's on the side of the homeowner and the home buyer and the home seller, right? Their realtor wants them to be able to buy or sell whatever their pleasure is at the time. Their lender wants to lend them money, and when they have lent them money, they don't want to take the property back unless you give them no choice. So in all of these cases, communication and education is key for the consumer. Communicating their concerns and being educated by the professionals they're doing business with.
Excellent. Bill, that is just wonderful. And now let's continue this conversation in light of today's world, in which a young person will get the best phone out there. And then the next year, they'll get the next best phone out there. And then the year after that, the same thing. Now, what about that frame of mind when buying a house? The fear of committing, of putting down roots, and of all the houses out there deciding, oh, this is the one I have to buy.
I mean, once you buy it, you don't have to live there forever. If you're unhappy with it, you can sell it or rent it, but it depends on what your goals are when you're buying it. Probably the biggest the biggest problem with that fear is a thought process that says, if I buy this home, it will be my home for the rest of my life. And that's not always where you start. I think that many of our younger buyers were spoiled by the fact that we had extraordinarily low interest rates for quite a period of time, which enabled first-time home buyers to buy more house than typically they would have in the decades before. So you become used to that really quick, right? If you get ice cream every night and all of a sudden one night you don't have ice cream, you think the world is coming to an end. But the truth is that during the majority of my career, first-time homebuyers needed to start with a relatively modest property, and hopefully with a plan after they had built some equity or gained some financial stability or reached a higher position in their career, that they would then buy a larger home. A young couple with no children that buys a small 2 or 3 bedroom home has plenty of space. When they have 1 or 2 children, they may want a 4-bedroom home. They may want something larger, a bigger yard. So you sell the first one and buy the second one. The truth is, again, if you're using trusted professionals, it's not hard to sell and buy real estate. I mean, it's scary, but it's scary because you don't know things, not because the process itself is a problem. Our fear is always fueled by ignorance, right? When we sat around the fire in caveman days when you and I were younger, the fear was of what's in the darkness, what's away from the fire, what foul things might there be out there in the woods. And the truth is there might be nothing out there in the woods. But because we don't know, we have a fear. So the best thing to do, again, is to educate and communicate and to have good, trusted professionals to work with. And for me, in the real estate business, that's members of the local, state, and National Association of Realtors.
Excellent. Excellent, Bill. Now let me leave you with a question you've heard many times in today's market. And that is, well, okay, but should I buy a house now? Or should I wait because mortgage interest rates might drop?
Well, you buy a house because you need the space, or you need less space, or you're trying to build familial wealth or create generational wealth, not because of the mortgage you're going to get. The mortgage it's a vehicle. If you, whatever the interest rate is, if interest rates go up, you were a genius for buying. If interest rates stay the same, you made a smart decision for buying. And if interest rates go down, you refinance. So you're not tied to a mortgage when you buy a home. Your home is an asset that grows in value. Your mortgage is a debt that shrinks in obligation every year. So I wouldn't let the mortgage make me determine whether I was going to buy or not. You go buy. There's an old cliche in real estate that it is better to buy real estate and wait than it is to wait and buy real estate. And like all cliches, it's a cliche because it's true, and therefore people keep saying it over and over again.
Bill, I love that. It's better to buy real estate and wait than it is to wait to buy real estate. What a great way of putting it.
I wish I had created the phrase.
Well, Bill, I really want to thank you for being on the show today and telling everyone that, sure, it's natural to be scared if you've never done real estate before, but that once you know the facts, there's really nothing to be afraid of. And Bill, I want to thank you for explaining all of it to our listeners.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. It's a pleasure. And I'll only remind them in the spirit of Halloween to keep their candy corn close and their friends closer.
And Bill, happy Halloween.
You too.
Bill Lublin, Realtor and CEO of Century 21 Advantage Gold in Philadelphia, the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, and the past president of the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. Next time on Real Estate This Week, first-time buyers and what that drop in mortgage interest rates means to them. Is it easier to afford a house now? And if so, what's their best strategy as we approach the holidays? That's next on Real Estate This Week. And until then, I'm Stephen Gasque, and thank you for listening.
A brand new episode of Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque drops every Thursday, everywhere. And you're invited to listen, subscribe, and follow us. Just look for Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque. The best real estate strategies out there, just for you.